Hey guys, welcome to video 10. I can't believe it's our last journal video. I'm sad that it's over, but I really hope that you have enjoyed journaling and would like to continue pursuing it on your own once this is all done. That was the goal, so I hope that you feel like you were introduced to a variety of techniques to try at home and feel comfortable trying new techniques. So I thought for the last video we would decorate the cover of our journals together, but if you've already done that, that's no big deal. You could just do this on the inside for a page if you'd like to. So I've got my journal. I've got a lot of magazines, scraps. So what the idea is to create an initial, so the first letter of your name, and put it on the cover of your journal with sort of like a collage theme. So I've got one solid piece for my letter, but you don't have to use a solid piece. You could use a patterned piece if you'd like to. Like I could have chosen this crazy looking page for my letter. I could have decided on one with an actual photo if I wanted to. I could have created an M out of the pine trees if I wanted to. I would avoid anything with letters or words on it, but anything else, maybe pictures of nature are always good. So you're gonna flip it over and trace your letter. The only catch is if your letter is not symmetrical, meaning the same on both sides, you're gonna have to draw your letter backwards. So however that works for you at home, if you need to maybe do it with your finger first to figure out how to draw your letter backwards before drawing it on the paper that you've chosen, that might help. But whenever you go to draw on your paper, flip it over on the back so that we don't see the lines of the letter. So I'm saying a lot, but I'll just get started. You're gonna want your ruler as well to make sure that your lines are straight for your letter. I'm going to be using some washi tape today. I might use some of these fine tip pens for some detail. Let's get started. So I'm just gonna swing over the camera and point it down to my messy desk so you can see what I've got going on here. So not only did I find the piece of paper that I wanted to use for my letter, but I've cut out some other collage elements that I wanted to add to my cover of my journal. If you want to pause the video now and take a little bit of time to flip through a magazine and get a nice stack of things that you'd like to add to your cover, that might be wise. So if you'd like to pause it, go ahead and then you can revisit us when you've got your magazine clippings. So I'm gonna go ahead. I already traced M on the back and I didn't have to draw it backwards because M is symmetrical. So I'm just gonna grab my scissors. And when you're cutting, really helps to cut the page smaller and smaller and smaller. It just is much easier to cut a small piece of paper than to cut a big piece of paper. So I'm just taking my time because I really want it to be symmetrical. I really want my lines to be even. And I chose a really boring kind of piece of paper for my letter, but that's because I'm going to have a lot of other things going on, like other collage elements. But if you want to choose a really patterned piece instead, you can do that, and then maybe keep the rest of the book simple. So let's see. So I've got my M. And I really want to think about like where I'm going to place it. Am I going to place it down here, up top? Do I want it off to the side? I'm going to put it in the center. But before I do that, I wanted a circle to go around my letter. So I grabbed this lid, but I think it's a little too small. It doesn't cover my whole letter. So then I grabbed this plate, and it doesn't quite fit on my journal, but I think that I'm going to just use these lines, even though they go off the page, and guide my circle. So let's see. I'm going to grab my glue stick so that I can put my letter down first. Actually, maybe I will draw my letter first so that, or draw my circle first so that I do not have to worry about it not being centered. Okay, so I'm just using this plate to get these lines, but if you don't have a plate, look for literally any circle in your house. You could grab a plastic lid like I did, you could grab a mug, you could grab like a potted plant, and I'm just adding these curved lines. Like so. Okay, so now I've got my curved lines and I've got my letter in the middle, and I'm glad that I didn't glue it down yet because I want to make sure that it is centered. So I'm flipping it over. If you have Mod Podge at home, Mod Podge is like watered down glue. That's something that will help to almost seal the pages that you're gluing onto your book. I like to use Mod Podge a lot. Okay. Okay, so I glued down my M. I've got like a little magazine sticking out from the other collage. And then I want to grab my other pieces and think about how I want to add them to the composition that I'm working on. So maybe I want to cut these borders. You might want to find, look when you're flipping through the magazine, look through some pages for some patterns that you like. Think about maybe a color scheme that interests you. Do you want to use a lot of blues and greens? Do you like vibrant colors? So I'm going to grab these two borders and add them to the top and the bottom. So my first name is Mackenzie, that's why I chose M. And I just think it's kind of a cool way to personalize your journal. It makes it a little bit more unique and like it belongs to you without writing out your whole name. Okay, so I've added these two, they kind of look like mountains, borders to my journal. I'm going to grab, I've got some smaller pieces still, I don't know, I'll save them if I want to use them later. I cut out this rain, it almost looks like a watercolor clip, but I don't think that it's going to fit without me cutting it up. So I'm actually going to flip this plate over and draw a line on it, the same angle as the plate. And I'm going to do it twice because I'm going to add these. I really don't know how this is going to look. I'm trying something new. So because I have this angle on the plate and I've got that angle on my journal, I'm going to cut up these raindrops so that they will fit right on my circle, like this. Boop. Oh. Then I'm going to do it again. So I've got two more. Boop. You may not like how that looks. I might want to move them around before I decide on gluing them down. It's really important when you're doing collage to move the magazine around before you commit to gluing it, because you might find that you actually like it better another way. Like I like this much better. So now I'm going to grab my glue stick, flip them over, you don't have to use Mod Podge, just the glue will definitely keep the magazine on. But you just want to make sure that when you are gluing it down, you get the edges. You don't want the edges sticking up. And always remember to cap your glue. I have been guilty of leaving my glue uncapped and then I go to grab it and it's all dried out. So if you don't like this look, that's totally fine. You can skip this. It might look different based on the different shapes that you cut out, but I like that they fit inside my circle, in and on the outside too. Okay, I'm gonna grab my black pen because I want to add a little bit more pattern to my circle because I've done a whole lot of collage on here, but I haven't done a lot of drawing, so it looks a little bit boring. So I'm just using this fine point black pen and I'm going to add these tiny triangles. They kind of mimic the mountains in my borders. If you can tie in elements like that when you're doing mixed media like this, by mixed media I mean I'm drawing and I'm doing collage, and I'm going to use washi tape, and I'm probably going to use some colored pencils or markers as well. So mixed media just means you're using more than one type of material, and when you pull from these different materials and try to use similar elements like these triangles, it helps bring them together. Bring the whole piece together. Okay, so I'm going to skip over that collage and I'm still adding some more triangles. I'm going to be honest, I didn't realize that when I cut out this M that the white was going to be there, but I just accepted it because I kind of like it. Because it's not perfect. It's not just light blue, it's got a little bit of white, and the white brings in the raindrops. Okay, so now I've got these triangles, I've got my border. I think I'm going to do a little bit more drawing. I'm going to grab some of these other fine point markers, and maybe I will end up grabbing some colored pencils as well. So if you want to look up designs, if you're looking for inspiration on things to design, like little doodles, I always use Pinterest to look up journal inspirations, and she's got like they've got really great doodle inspirations as well. So I'm looking up just a simple, it's a bunch of flowers basically. So now I can look at these for inspiration and add them to my journal. So I'll say, which ones do I really, really like? And I'll pick a flower, and then I can just add it with my pen on top of my collage. So I think I like this flower. It's kind of like asymmetrical hearts. The petals look like hearts, and then add the little stem. And this way I have more of a hand in it. It's not just collage. I've got some drawn elements next to the collage. Okay, so that's one flower. I might go around and add a bunch of flowers in here. And then decide later if I want to color them or not. But they don't have to be super detailed. Like I'm just doing very simple doodles. And you can just get ideas. You don't have to copy exactly as it looks. On the page, it can be, you can just look for ideas and then make it your own. I actually really like how these flowers look. I think it adds a little element of fine. I like the fine line details. And I think I actually might leave them black. I kind of like the black on the brown of the book. And like maybe I just do some tiny little flowers off to the side to fill in some of those gaps. If you're like totally not into flowers, what else could you do that you are more interested in? Maybe you're a big swimmer and you want to add like waves or some element that means something more to you instead. You don't have to do exactly what I'm doing. I'm just trying to give you ideas of how to attack your cover of your journal. And like I said, if you've already done your journal, the cover I mean, then you could be doing this on a page inside. Okay, I've just got a couple more blank spaces for some more flowers. Ooh, I just did something pretty bold. I started to draw on my letters, my letter M, and not just on the side. So I'm doing a little bit of overlap. I really love to overlap. I think especially with mixed media, it helps bring it together. So by overlap, I mean I'm starting to draw on my letter as well. And like I said, I could go in and color this if I wanted to. I will probably skip it just because I like how it looks without the color, but you could definitely do that if you wanted to. Okay, I could grab my washi tape and maybe add another type of material to my book. But before I do grab this washi tape, I want to think about like where I'm going to put it. And I think I actually want to put some on the letter. And so this is it's a pretty thick piece. I mean, it's probably like half an inch, a little more. If I wanted to, I could cut this down and make it a little bit thinner to have it match what I want it to look like. So I'm just gonna cut this piece of tape in half, but it's hard to do because it's curling. Naturally it curls, so cutting it is a little tricky. And also, you don't want it to get not sticky by handling it, because then it won't stick to your journal. So much concentration. Okay. I think that I am going to outline my letter with this washi tape. So I just put down the washi tape next to my letter. I'm going to trim it where I want it to stop. Grab another piece. Do the other side of my letter. If you wanted to use the whole piece, go for it. And also just remember that you can take what you like from my ideas and skip other parts that you don't like. You do not have to do everything that I am doing. This is just for inspiration. Okay, so I'm adding more tape. I'm gonna have to cut maybe 1 or 2 more pieces. Oh, so a little trick. It makes sense for me to put the tape on my desk so that it holds it straight for when I want to cut it in half. Okay. So I'm adding more tape to my letter. I love washi tape so much. It is so fun. Just makes everything look better. Okay. So I just have a little bit left to go. If you have a letter that's really curvy, it might be really hard for you to add tape to that letter because the tape is very straight. So if your letter is like an S or a C, you might not want to do this. It might be too challenging. We are almost there, friends. So I'm just adding the last bits of the tape to my letter. Luckily this fits, so I don't have to cut another piece. I did sort of cover up the drawings of the flowers though on the letters, so if I wanted to, I could go back in and draw on top of my letter again. I think this is kind of sticking out too much for me. I might want to grab my pens and add some of my own drops. You obviously are not going to have the exact same collage as I am. So whatever it is that you want to do to fill in some of that blank space, totally up to you. I just want to tie these together a little bit, the collage and the drawing. So I'm kind of overlapping. But also you might like some of that blank space. Now I'm using these fine tip markers to add some flowers and color to my letter. If you're not, like I said, if you're not into flowers, draw whatever it is that you like. If you don't want to draw on your letter, you totally do not have to. I can even grab my colored pencils if I wanted to and color on top of some of the drawings that I've been doing. Actually, the colored pencils work really well on the cardboard cover. They really pop. You can see the blue of the drop. I could also go ahead and color in some of those triangles that I drew before. That might help bring in a little bit of unity. And don't forget that there is a pencil sharpener within your pack. So I'm going to go ahead and color in some of these triangles. I'm not going to keep this video going while I color, but I hope that you had fun. I hope that you enjoyed journaling and are going to continue journaling. Thank you so much for tuning in, and if you want to share your journal with me, I'd love to see it. Just send it to my email. Thanks so much, guys. Enjoy the rest of your summer and have a good school year.